Hi, I wanted to show you where to find the information you need to deploy applications to the App Store for iOS, iPhone, and iPad, as well as iPod Touch. When you go to developer.apple.com, to find the information you need, if you don't have a developer account, you can go to the resources link. And of course, if you do have a developer account, you can go to the Member Center. I wanted to show you the Member Center briefly, but today the Member Center is down for maintenance, I believe. Let's go ahead and click this link. And yeah, the link actually doesn't appear to be working. There we go. We'll be back soon. And they're down for maintenance. This is the first time in 2 years that I've seen this page. They're usually up and doing just fine. But you can go to the resources link at the top of the site. And then if you go to the iOS developer library, there are 3 things that you want to look for in preparation for developing an app for the App Store. The first and the most important is the distribution guide. So if we just search for distribution, there we go. The app distribution guide is here. And this goes through the entire process. And of course, in the last discussion, we talked about this developing and testing piece. But the first step, obviously, is to enroll in the iOS developer program. Then develop and test your app. Create an iTunes record for your app so that the iTunes can get to the App Store. Submit the app, and then release the app, and then iterate through all of these phases. So then develop and test your next iteration of the app, and so on and so forth. Now, it goes through and gives you some high-level information. This guide does. And there's a table of contents over here that you can look at everything. But there are 2 linked documents in here that you really need to read really before you begin the development process. And the first one of those is let's see. When you look down here in this table, the user interface guidelines, look at these 2 first. The iOS Human Interface Guidelines gives information about what Apple believes to be best practices for designing a user interface for users. And I can boil that document down in a very simple sentence. Keep the user interface simple and don't do really weird things with controls. In other words, make the user interface pretty much the same as every other app's user interface. And then the App Store Review Guidelines kind of tells you what Apple is going to be looking for in your application. So we can look at this user interface guideline document. And this goes through the process of designing a user interface and then presenting it. But here's the sentence that I was boiling down. Working with the platform conventions. In other words, stick with Apple's known platform conventions. Now, I will mention that these conventions are going to be changing in the next release of iOS. The entire look and feel of an iOS app on the device is going to be changing. So look for that as an upcoming change this fall. So read through this document, very important, and then also read through the other document, which is the App Store Review Guidelines for iOS apps. And right now, this is probably because the Member Center is down, but that document is present on the site, and so you need to review that as well. Some other related things, these are how-to guides. Creating signing certificates, team provisioning profiles, maintaining certificates, provisioning profiles and apps. You manage your provisioning profile now, currently, through a combination of Xcode and within your developer profile in the Member Center. Again, that is changing to where that you will manage your provisioning profile for your device, only from within Xcode. So a couple of things that are upcoming, but we'll talk about those when we actually talk about the update which is coming up this fall. And I believe in our iOS course that talks about developing with iPad, that update will be out. The NDA will have been lifted, and so I can talk about that at that point. Okay, so this is how to get started distributing an app. As I said, don't be surprised, especially if you haven't read the developer guidelines about preparing an app to be reviewed by Apple. Don't be surprised that your app is rejected. Make sure that the human interface guidelines, your app complies with both human interface guidelines and the developer guidelines before even attempting to release an app for distribution to the App Store. Thank you very much.